To introduce myself, I am Sandra Averill. I am a district teacher for instructional services here in the Langley School District. So I support our teachers and our learners ages K to 12. And one of the areas that I support is digital citizenship and internet safety. Privacy is an area of passion for me because it is such a large and challenging area when we're using technology, because it's so abstract. We're connecting to the internet, so we don't feel like anyone's looking over our shoulder or they're sitting beside us looking at the screen, right? They're not physically there, so it's hard to understand how privacy is getting away from us. So we're going to look at what is privacy, how to protect privacy, and even, this has become so prevalent during COVID times, how we unknowingly give away private information. So to begin with, I have always said that there are two sides to technology. There is the side of what it does for us, which is amazing. It translates for us. We can connect with family far away. We can entertain ourselves. We can become Insta famous maybe. There's a lot of really great things that it does for us. But there's also this other piece of what it does to us. So every time we're using technology for something that is wonderful, we need to be thinking about what is it doing to me? Because if we just ignore that other side, and we ignore, eventually what it's doing to us gets out of control, and now we're in an uncomfortable situation. Okay, so in thinking about privacy, this is something that I hear a lot, especially from students. I've got nothing to hide. I'm not worried about privacy. And this kind of tells me, okay, you're not quite understanding privacy and what's going on. So I just want you to imagine with me when you're thinking about privacy. Okay, imagine that I knew your location anytime I wanted. I knew exactly where you were. Imagine that I could access all the information of your contacts on your phone. And I know that some of you put in everything. You put in their birth date, their address, who their spouse is. You are form fillers. And now I can access all of that. Imagine that I could view all the people that called you, even if you didn't answer their call. Imagine that I could view all the photos that you have taken, not the ones you've posted on social media, but the ones that are just on your device. Imagine that I could see every single app that you have ever tried, deleted, or kept. Imagine that I could view your web browser history. Imagine that I could view your search history. And an interesting thing about this, a while back I was at Google back when we could travel to the States, and one of the things they have is this big monitor, and it just drops real-time Google searches. And I said to the individual, like that one dropping right now, could you, if you wanted, identify where it came from? He said it wouldn't take me very long. That's interesting. A lot of people don't think about that and think that their little searches might be seen by somebody. Imagine that I could view your texts. Imagine that I can hear all the questions in your house, all the silences, all your discussions, all your life. And the thing about these is you can't manage this kind of privacy with passwords. So privacy is different from secrecy. Privacy is about just our regular everyday life and what we're doing, who we're interacting with, who we are, right? Secrecy is a whole other level. So what I'm talking about is how to keep your private life private. And a big piece to this is passwords. And still, oh gosh, 14 years into this, people still are challenged with passwords. Okay, probably the #1 way to keep things private. So a strong password needs 1 capital letter, 1 lowercase letter, 1 number, 1 special character, and has to be, oops, thank you, at least 8 digits. Okay, so it should not be ABC123, should not be password, it should not be your child's name, it should not be anything that people just know about you, because you don't know who might be accessing your things. It could be the neighbor. So one of the things that I've done to figure out how to remember my password is this. I have come up with a word, and for this example, I will use my cat's name, Doodle. But you can see, instead of spelling it properly, I have a capital D, and where the O's are, I use zeros. And then I have a lowercase, D and L, and then instead of the E, I have the number 3, and I have a period. So I have all of the first 4 things. Now it's not 8 digits long, and that's okay. Because part of the problem of what people do is they create what they think is a very strong password, and then they use that thing everywhere. And as soon as they use it everywhere, it becomes a weak password. Because if somebody knows your email address and they find out your password for one place, what they're going to do is use that email address and password everywhere, because your email is like your username. That's why when something like LinkedIn gets hacked, they'll send out to all the people, change your passwords everywhere, because sadly they know most people use the same password everywhere. So I create a strong beginning, and then after the dot, I put wherever I am. So if it's my Google password, I add .google. If it's my Pinterest password, I add .pinterest. That way, the only thing I need to remember is that beginning. And then I just know wherever I am, that's going to fall after the character. I tell you, this saves me so much time doing this type of thing. So important that you use a unique password everywhere, and that you're not writing it on sticky notes and putting it on your technology, that it's not, you know, on paper that's close to your technology. It's important to have a system or to have a password keeper. All right. Now, the other thing around privacy that people don't understand is how big their circle becomes. Now, this is an old example that I use, but it still rings true. So I have Mr. Graham Bell here, who's really excited, and he's on Facebook. Who's on Facebook anymore? But anyhow, he is. And he writes, just applied for a patent on my telegraph, fingers crossed. He's really excited. And this is always a great example for kids, because I will say this is an example of something that's not true, because the internet wasn't invented when Mr. Graham Bell was alive. He would have never posted this on Facebook. But for our example, here we are. So he has posted it, so his friends see this. They see his post. Then Mr. Bailey replies. So Mr. Bailey's friends all see this. They've become part of this thread. Ms. Gray replies, so all of her friends are part of this. And then we have just a mere 17 people who like it. That's not very many these days, but you know, 17. He's got not a lot of friends that are on here all the time. So if each of these people that liked it have 100 friends, now they're aware of that, of this post. But one of the friends that liked it, they have over 1,000 friends. So they are all a part of this. So you can see how something that's put out there just grows and grows and grows as to who has access to it, right? So it's so important because, of course, it grows this way and then people take screenshots of it and it ends up all over the place. So it's so important that we are talking to our kids and to our spouses about all of this and what our hopes are for how much privacy is out there. The other piece, and I mentioned, that is around COVID time, is people giving away their private information. So if you think about really secure sites, like your banking site, that you have to have a password for, and then you have to answer your special question. Think about those special questions. Is it your pet's name? Is it your mom's maiden name? Was it your grade 1 teacher's name? Right? Because if it is, and you are answering these things all over the internet, your password information is being collected. Eek! That's really concerning. If you have grandparents or your parents are older, this is so important to share with them because I've seen a lot of this. So we see this, and this is what I talk about during COVID times. We're so bored, we want stuff to do. So this one, at Christmas time, what's your elf name? Fun, that's so fun. So you pick your elf name by your birth month, right? That's the beginning. And the second part of your elf name is the day. Well, there's your birthday. That's some pretty private information. So now it's out there. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know now your birth date. This one, congratulations, it's husband and wife day. Post the year you got married. Again, that is a question for things like banking. What is the year you got married, right? There you go, you're giving it away. And then these fun things. So it's so hard because the social pressure is there. But, and then it's the added piece. And I just saw this the other day. I'll know who my true friends are because they will reply to this. And I just cringe because I think I am your friend. But I also know that that's just sharing a whole lot of information. So really needing to think about this and talk about this with your family, because that's just information giveaway. And then there's information that we don't realize that we're giving away. And that often comes in media. So there is this thing called metadata. And metadata is information that we can't see. We look at this photo and we see 2 adorable children. But some people see the metadata. And that metadata can tell a lot of information. So it will say the date that this photo was taken, the GPS location that the photo was taken, because GPS location works well with GPSs. Obviously, it's very succinct. It will say the latitude and longitude of the location. It will say the GPS of the closest landmark to this location. There is a lot of information that's contained within metadata. And there are actual search engines that just search for metadata. So you can enter in a location search and it will pull up any images that have that location embedded in the metadata. That's why it's so important that you go into your apps and you take a look at what you can turn on and off. Turning off your location for your camera is really important. I mean, think about it. Do apps really need to know where you are? No, they don't. There's also apps. There's an app called Metadata Cut. It's a free app that it will actually strip all the metadata out of images, and then you can post it. And at least that is safer than having all of this inside of that image. Another thing to consider is changing the settings so that anything that you are texting to other people or uploading, that it's on low quality image mode. I see so many super high resolution images uploaded to different sites, and I just think those are the images that are so easy to take and reuse and put all sorts of places, right? So you don't want to give people that chance. You want to make sure it's low res, so it gets so pixelated if they try to do something with it. Okay, so we have all of this going on. We have our passwords. We're thinking about what kind of things are we sharing, but it's important to understand the changing landscape of all of these apps. Okay, so way back in 2010, seems like just yesterday, Facebook, that mighty Facebook, was the #1 app. Okay, and we have, Twitter kind of came on, Instagram was just a baby, but now, well, as of 2019, because it's hard to have the most up to date, here we have the new king, TikTok. TikTok is it, right? Well, which TikTok has been around for quite some time, but it's revamped itself and it's gone huge. Huge, huge, huge. You notice YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Some of you might be seeing, it's going all to the very visual, right? The media apps are becoming the thing to have. When we recently polled middle school students, and the larger the word, the more it's used, TikTok and YouTube were the biggest, right? So there you go, the media type apps. So some things to know about these apps, because they're so fun. It's the social pressure, it's entertainment, right? And some of you might be thinking, oh, well, what even are these apps? Well, you have the image apps, like I said. So YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, they're all very much about images. You have the messaging apps, right? So WhatsApp, WeChat, those are very popular apps. But they also have an age requirement that comes with them that surprises a lot of people. So these ones, YouTube, TikTok, WeChat, Snapchat, you can see you are supposed to be 18. If you're not 18, you are supposed to have your parents' permission. Why is that? It's because they don't really monitor anything that's coming out, right? So 18 is that age of adulthood. So they're not concerned if a person stumbles across pornography, a person stumbles across hate, all of those things, because they're 18 or a parent has agreed to it. WhatsApp is 16, which I find such a strange age. It's 16 because, again, WhatsApp, they don't take responsibility for who you connect with. And people can connect through WhatsApp with people that they don't know. So it's just a function of that app. And then we have the standard Facebook and Instagram that's 13. And whenever you see 13, you know it's because they sell information. So if it's 13 and older that you need to be, they're making money by selling the information that is uploaded through their app, right? When something's free, you're the product, and your product is your data. So it's against the law to sell information of somebody who's a child, meaning they're 12 years old or younger. So therefore, you have to be 13 to use these apps. And that's really important to understand because data is being sold all the time. All the time. In fact, Instagram down here, they batch sell. So they take all the images from here, they sell them to all those advertisers over there. You might never know that you appear someplace in the world in an ad, but you might, because you agreed that your media could be used, even if you have your Instagram set on private. It's just part of what they do. It's how they keep it functioning. Another piece of really important information to understand is where the data is located that app collects. Okay, so because why is that, Sandra? Because your privacy resides with the country that holds your data. Canada has some of the strongest privacy laws in the world. And in fact, even within Canada, each province and territory is different. So Canada, the strongest privacy laws in the world. British Columbia, Nova Scotia, the strongest privacy laws within Canada. We hold privacy very near and dear here, but that's not the case of everywhere. So if I'm using TikTok, my data is residing in Singapore. Well, privacy laws in Singapore are very, very different than Canada, right? My information is probably just everywhere, being collected and sold everywhere. Google, YouTube, and Snapchat is here because Snapchat uses Google servers to hold their information now. So that information is all over the world. And what that means is your information from this product might be over in Taiwan, this product might be over in Ireland. And so your data is split all over the place. And it really, whether it's private or not, depends on the country where it's sitting. Okay, so Facebook, WhatsApp, well, and Instagram, all owned by Facebook, they're in the USA and Singapore. So you see what I'm getting at. It is important to understand where all of your information is sitting because people, even governments, could have access to it and you don't even realize that. The other thing that nobody, or I congratulate you if you do, reads user agreements. User agreements, they probably use a size 9 font in the least readable font you could ever pick, and in great long legal talk, because they really don't want people to read the user agreements. Almost all apps, social media apps, these kind of apps, they say that anything that you upload, they own and they can sell. That's pretty much a blanket across the way. Some have been more concerning though. TikTok probably, there you go, TikTok probably changed everything because it came out of China. The Chinese government partly owns it. And they would actually skim information from all apps, including your credit card information. They would just skim all information. And there was a lot of upset around that. And so there's been some talk back and forth around what type of information they will continue to collect. But it's a lot, these apps, right? Because you're the product. So that's good to think about in tackling privacy, right? That we're changing the permissions in our settings. We're aware of what we're sharing. And again, discussing family comfort levels. And along with family comfort levels, what images are you comfortable with your children sharing? In our house, the rule of thumb was if somebody wasn't on a social media, they made that choice and you should not put them there. So Papa was on Twitter, was on some other things, but he wasn't on Instagram. So you should not put his image on Instagram. That's not the right thing to do. He made that choice. So those are the kind of discussions to have as well. And again, with your children, but also with grandparents, because I have seen so many grandparents use images of their beautiful grandchildren everywhere, right? They put it as their profile picture on Facebook. They put it just everywhere. So it's something to think about.